Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you a comparison video today between two shoes that are marketed very similarly but actually perform and feel quite different from each other. Of course, I'm talking about the Nike Magista Obra and the Adidas Predator Instinct. These are two very popular high-end models as of right now, and a lot of people are trying to decide between the two. In today's video, we're going to talk about what all the major differences are when it comes to how they fit, feel, and of course perform. So with that being said, let's get right into the video. Starting off with the uppers, there isn't a lot to compare between both of these two shoes. Yes, they're both synthetic uppers, and yes, they're both on the thinner side of things in terms of touch, but overall, they're pretty much exact opposites in terms of the feel that they provide. Now, starting off with the Predator Instinct, as the base for the upper itself, you're going to find Adidas's hybrid touch synthetic material. You can see that it is on the thinner side, and it's a synthetic leather. So it's synthetic, but it's designed to have the feel of a natural leather material, and it does that pretty effectively. It doesn't necessarily have that overly padded sensation that you would get from a leather upper. With that being said, there is a slight amount of padding here considering that it is quite thin, but overall it's nice and soft. It moves naturally with your foot. It's extremely comfortable, requires very little break-in time, really doesn't overstretch, and acts as a good base for this particular shoe. Now, I say that it's a good base because it really isn't a defining characteristic in terms of the touch that the Predator Instinct provides. You can see scattered across the entire upper, you have several very large, very aggressive rubber elements that Adidas calls lethal zones. There's one here on the lateral side of the shoe, one across the top of the forefoot, one here on the medial side of the instep, and then of course one in the major striking area on your foot. Now, all of these rubber elements are raised off the shoe, like I said, pretty aggressively. They provide a ton of extra grip on the ball. It's a nice soft, pliable rubber, so no matter how hard or how soft you touch the ball, you're still getting a ton of additional grip, and that's really the defining characteristic of this shoe. It provides a lot of extra grip on the ball, and it's really what separates the Predator Instinct from pretty much any other shoe out there on the market. Nothing quite feels like this, nothing quite provides the same amount of grip on the ball, and unlike the LZ1 and the LZ2 from Adidas, the LZ2 wasn't so bad, but the LZ1 had that very clingy sensation, especially at first, where it took some getting used to really manage having all that extra grip on the ball, and I didn't really get that sensation with the Predator Instinct. It's a lot of additional grip, and it definitely is very, very noticeable, but I found it to be very manageable, and once you actually did get used to it, after a couple hours of wear time, I quite enjoy having that extra grip. It does give you that sensation of control. It's not going to allow you to control the ball better than you could before, but it certainly is an interesting feel and an interesting sensation that I think a lot of people would come to like should they give it a shot. The one other element that you're going to find on this particular shoe is the passing gel pad right here on the instep. Now, this little kind of gel pad is kind of a hard material. It's not gel like you might expect it to be just based on how it's named. And in terms of kind of having a really big impact on the overall feel, its impact is very, very minimal. It provides no extra grip on the ball. It basically just allows this kind of midfoot area to have a slightly more padded sensation. It's not too thin. And again, it's not really one of those features that you're going to notice too heavily when it comes to making contact with the ball. But overall, if you're looking for a lot of additional grip, something extremely unique, the Predator Instinct is definitely going to deliver in that regard. As far as the Magista Obra is concerned, it's one of those shoes that is, again, kind of difficult to compare to anything else out there on the market other than maybe the Superfly 4, which would be the alternate Flyknit model on offer from Nike. So of course the upper is made 100% from Flyknit, which is a knitted material. It's made out of various types of yarns and synthetic fibers, all machine knitted into one single upper that is of course mid-cut. Now, in regards to the mid-cut aspect of the shoe, a lot of people ask if this little dynamic fit collar gets in the way when making touches on the ball, and the answer to that question is no. It doesn't restrict ankle flexibility in any way. It just provides a unique sensation where the shoe feels like it's an extension of your body, a seamless kind of transition from your leg into your foot, and that's really what the mid-cut design is all about. In terms of the touch that it provides, it definitely is on the thinner side, but the Flyknit material on this shoe is very tightly knit and it's very structured. It's difficult to see on video, but you can see that this pattern actually makes up a nice texturing. So all the black areas are actually raised slightly higher than the Volt yellow and pink areas on this particular colorway. So there's a nice texturing on the upper, and it's finished off with a layer of Nike Skin polyurethane. So it has a slightly grippy sensation. It certainly isn't a rubberized grip element or nowhere near the amount of grip you're going to get from something like a Predator Instinct, but it's just enough grip to where the ball's not going to slide across your foot without any kind of resistance. It's just enough so, like I said, you have that slightly controlled sensation from that little bit of extra grip that the shoe provides. With that being said, the upper is still very thin, although there is a slightly padded lining on the inside of the shoe. But should you get stepped on and when you do make contact with the ball, it's very, very evident that this is a thin, more of a barefoot sensation type of upper. Now, of course, it is also finished off with ACC all conditions control as a feature. So it acts as a wet control element, allowing for really good grip in wet weather condition. And actually, both of these shoes perform extremely well when the grass is wet, when the ball is wet, when the playing conditions are just wet in general. The rubber elements act as great additional grip in wet weather, and the ACC and just the actual Nike Skin coating they have on the top of this shoe does a good job in wet weather conditions as well. So overall, if you're looking for something with a ton of extra grip, the Predator Instinct definitely will deliver. Whereas if you're looking for something that's going to provide a lot less grip and is going to have more of a thinner feel to it, then definitely the Magista Obra is the way to go. But again, both very, very different shoes in terms of the feel that they provide. As far as stud patterns are concerned, again, the Predator Instinct and the Magista Obra are very different from each other. Starting off with the Predator Instinct, you can see that it features a stud pattern that you're probably familiar with if you've worn an Adidas shoe in the last couple of years. It features all triangular studs. This is, of course, the firm ground stud pattern. You have 4 triangular studs in the heel, all triangular studs in the forefoot, apart from the square-ish or diamond-shaped stud, I guess is the best way to describe it, right there in the middle of the foot. Now, the studs themselves aren't particularly long as far as firm ground stud patterns go, so it's not the most aggressive in terms of digging into the ground when you're pushing off and stuff like that. So the grip that you get is nothing exceptional, but the performance overall is good. They do have a fairly large surface area, so stability is definitely a strong suit of this particular stud pattern. And given that you're on a pretty nice field, you shouldn't have any issues with this stud pattern. It's also pretty well suited for harder ground playing surfaces. Also, the sole plate, it features what Adidas calls the control frame. It doesn't enhance your control in any way. It does have definitely elements and visual styling that would suggest otherwise, but it's not something that's going to feel any different from most sole plates out there on the market. It's relatively thick and nice and flexible, which gives it a nice natural feel when you're running. Like I said, minimal break-in time required. And in terms of performance, it personally isn't my favorite stud pattern. I like the flexibility of the sole plate, but it definitely does get the job done on firm natural grass playing surfaces. As far as the Magista Obra is concerned, it features a much more aggressive stud pattern. All conical studs, a much narrower profile in comparison to what you're getting with the Predator Instinct, as you can see. So they will penetrate the ground a little bit more easily, and because they are narrower and slightly longer as well, you're going to get a little bit more grip at push off no matter which direction it is. And because they're round in shape, you're going to be able to pivot and maneuver a little bit more easily just due to the shape of the studs and how they dig into the ground. With that said, the sole plate is again completely different. This features a much stiffer sole plate in comparison to what you get with the Predator Instinct. It will take some getting used to at first, and there definitely is an adjustment period with both of these two shoes. It's not uncomfortable or anything like that, but like I said, kind of the exact opposite in comparison to what you're getting with the Predator Instinct. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit stiffer and more aggressive as far as traction is concerned, you might prefer the Magista Obra, whereas if you're looking for something that is very natural feeling, comfortable, low profile, and very stable, then the Predator Instinct might be your preference. So again, both great performers, both will get the job done when it comes to overall traction. It's just a matter of what your preferences are. In terms of weight, again, there's a pretty significant difference between both of these two shoes. So I'm going to weigh them for you today in real time. Keep in mind the Predator is a size 9 US and the Magista Obra is a size 9.5 US, but the fit is very, very similar. So they're kind of the same size as what I'm getting at here. We'll start off with the Predator Instinct. Throw it on the scale and you can see that they weigh in at 9.6 ounces. So as far as Predator models that have come out in the last couple of years go, this definitely does weigh a little bit more. Adidas was going for something that is a little bit more traditional as far as Predator models go. It feels very solid on feet, it's extremely comfortable, and it just has a more rugged design than what we've seen in recent years. Some people won't like that it weighs in the 9 ounce range as opposed to being in the 8 ounce range like we've come to expect from the last couple of Predator models. But again, if weight is not something you're too picky about, like myself, you won't have any issues with the feel of the Predator Instinct. It's not lightweight, but it certainly isn't heavy either. So we'll take that off the scale. We'll throw on the Magista Obra, and you can see that these guys weigh in at pretty much 7 ounces exactly, 7.05 ounces to be exact. They are pretty much 2.5 ounces lighter than the Predator Instinct. This is very noticeable when you hold the shoe in your hand, and especially when they're on your feet. So if weight is something that is very important to you, you prefer something with a more lightweight feel, then the Magista Obra I think is going to be much more appealing to you than the Predator Instinct. Again, weight shouldn't really be the deciding factor if you're trying to decide between two specific models, but again, if you really are keen on lighter weight shoes, the Magista Obra is certainly the lighter option by a long shot. Alright, so here's a look at the Magista Obra as well as the Predator Instinct on feet. And in terms of comparing how both of these two shoes fit and feel, it's kind of difficult to do. You're kind of comparing every single normal soccer shoe, which right here is represented by the Predator Instinct, to this brand new one-piece sock-like mid-cut Flyknit upper that is the Magista Obra. So yes, they're both very comfortable shoes. Yes, they both fit extremely well, and they both have very positive characteristics about them, but it's really a matter of personal preference and really what you're looking for when it comes to how you should decide between both of these two shoes, at least when it comes to fit. Now, starting off with the Predator Instinct, like I said, it feels more or less like a standard soccer shoe. It's extremely comfortable from right out of the box. The sole plate is noticeably thicker on this shoe than most shoes that I've personally worn, but it's still very, very flexible, requires very minimal break-in time. The upper is soft and moves very naturally with your foot. There's a lot of rubber elements on the upper, but they seem to have placed them in such a way that it really doesn't make for any kind of restrictive feel when you pull the laces tight. And I particularly like the Velcro heel lining on the inside of the shoe that does a good job of keeping your heel locked in place. Now, with the Magista Obra, it's different in that it's a one-piece Flyknit upper, so it has a very sock-like sensation when you slide it on for the first time. Again, it does take some getting used to, so for that reason I would say there is somewhat of a break-in period, or at least a getting used to period with this particular shoe. And like I mentioned earlier, the sole plate is quite stiff at first, but certainly will become more flexible after some wear time. It's comfortable. The upper really just moves naturally with your foot. It wraps your foot closely. It doesn't have a tongue, so there's no overlapping materials. It has a nice seamless sensation, and with that mid-cut design, it hugs your ankle, as you guys can see. It's not restrictive in terms of flexibility, but it does create that seamless sensation where you almost forget that you're wearing shoes, especially considering they're so comfortable and so light on your feet as well. So again, two very different types of feels, but both very positive in their own special way. In terms of the overall width of the shoe, I would say they're both very similar width-wise. They're not, either of them are excessively wide, but again, if you do have average to slightly wide feet, you shouldn't have any issues fitting in either of these two shoes. Please keep in mind that neither of them will stretch a lot in particular. So again, if you do have really, really wide feet and you generally need your shoes to stretch in order to fit properly, these are probably not the best options for you. But if they fit you nicely, or at least snug from right out of the box, after some wear time, they'll be very, very comfortable for you. So again, as long as you don't have really, really wide feet, both the Predator Instinct and the Magista Obra should fit you just fine. In terms of sizing, the Predator Instinct runs true to size. I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and the length is absolutely perfect. Whereas with the Magista Obra, coming from the CTR 360 line, which is what the Magista has replaced, those ran half size small. I wore a 9.5 US in the Maestri 3, which was the previous high-end model. And coming to the Magista line, the sizing I found to be very, very similar. With the Magista Obra, it's kind of tricky just because of the material of the upper and how it fits in general. I've worn this shoe in a size 9 as well as a 9.5 US. The 9 I found to be very, very tight, whereas the 9.5 US, half a size larger, I found to fit me very well and just snug, not overly tight. Again, I feel comfortable in both of these shoes, but I think a little bit more comfortable going half a size up. So if you want a really tight fit in the Magista Obra, I'd recommend going true to size. Whereas if you want something that is tight, but more along the lines of snug as opposed to squeezing your foot, then going half a size up is also something that I can recommend with this particular shoe. So that's pretty much it as far as how these things fit and feel on your feet. Again, very, very different from each other, and everybody is going to have their own personal opinion and preferences when it comes to which one is going to be better for them personally. That's a decision you have to make for yourself. And with that being said, I'll leave you to my final thoughts. Alright guys, that's it for my comparison between the Adidas Predator Instinct and the Nike Magista Obra. two very, very good shoes. I'm a big fan of both of these two models when it comes to performance, how they fit, how they feel. I really have a good time when I wear either of these two shoes. With that being said, I know a lot of you guys are probably wondering what is my favorite of the two, and without a doubt, without hesitation, I would pick the Adidas Predator Instinct just because I like how it feels. I honestly prefer the more traditional feel over the mid-cut design of the Magista Obra, and that's not taking anything away from it. I just prefer how this shoe feels. I feel more comfortable wearing them. I really like the extra grippy sensation of the Predator Instinct, and to me, that is the defining characteristic and really the main reason why you would want to buy the Predator Instinct. Once you get used to managing all of that extra grip on the ball, I just really enjoy having it. It gives you that nice controlled sensation, both when passing, shooting, and receiving the ball, and it's just one of those things that you can't get from any other shoe currently out there on the market. With that being said, the Magista Obra is also extremely fun to wear. You definitely get a lot of looks while you're wearing it. It's extremely comfortable. It has that sock-like sensation. I honestly prefer the stud pattern of the Obra over what you get with the Predator Instinct. And if you prefer a thinner, less grippy touch on the ball, then the Magista Obra is definitely what you're going to prefer out of these two options. So again, when it comes to deciding between both of these two shoes, my preference is the Predator Instinct, but your preference might be the Magista Obra. Again, it really comes down to what you're looking for in terms of fit, feel, and overall performance. So hopefully this video helps you decide between both of these two models if you were a little bit confused. Again, if you guys want more information on either of these two shoes, you can check out my full written review for both the Obra as well as the Predator Instinct. Both links to the review pages will be found down below in the description. I'll also leave annotations on the screen to my playtest videos of the Magista Obra and the Predator Instinct if you guys want to go ahead and check those out. Again, those annotations will be left on screen and the links down below in the description. If you have any questions or suggestions for other comparison videos you'd like to see, leave those down below in the comment section. I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. That would be greatly appreciated. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all of my social media information down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.